Always looking for the countdown. Hi, Jerry Gagne from Foy's Pigeon Supply. This is our Facebook show for all of you who are first-time viewers. Hey, thanks for joining us. And of course, our regulars, we so much appreciate them. It's amazing to me. I talk to people all week on the telephone or get emails. How many of you folks tell me that you enjoy Gina and I and what we do and what we give back to the hobby, and we certainly try to do that. But I think we're going to have a real full show. Got a lot of things to talk about. Might want to get something to write on because we'll be making suggestions. And of course, if this is your first viewing, then you may not realize all you have to do is send in a question via Facebook. If you have a question about pretty much anything, pigeon health, chickens, and so forth, be glad to answer the questions as best we can. And honest enough to tell you, if I don't know the answer or Gina doesn't know the answer is main accent. So what I did want to mention, as you can see, I got all kinds of notes. Oh, this is a book. See, it says health. And so many of the emails that come in or questions I put in this book, and I'm going to put a health book together in a not too distant future. I'm working on it. You just don't sit down and write a book. You have to gather information over a period of time, and then sometimes in gathering the information, I get questions, so I have to do a little bit of research. Wanted to mention, of course, we do sell pigeons. If you go to Foy's website, we're running a special this time of the year, trying to cut down on the number of birds we have. So if you are looking for some flying rollers, we sell flying rollers. The special is you can buy 8 of them for $400, but that includes the box and the airmail shipping to you, so there's some real savings there. We also sell the racing homers, and that could be the young racing homers, 2020, what we call race quality. Race quality means that if you belong to a racing pigeon club, or you just want some good birds that will come back from long distances, 2, 3, 4, 500 miles, we sell young race quality homers, and we also sell the colored homers, which are not race quality. In other words, the emphasis is on raising pretty birds, different colors, and we have those. All 3 that I've mentioned, the race quality, colored homers, rollers, if you buy 8, we will ship them to you free of charge, including the box. The boxes hold 4 birds in a box. I don't like to crowd them, so you would get 2 boxes. If you have any questions about the birds, you can call Foy's, and they'll give you my home phone number, or if you call during the show, if I get the opportunity, I'll call you right after the show. So I found it interesting. I may have mentioned this to you before. As all of you know, or most of you know, I should say, I give out my home phone number. I'm going to give it to you in a minute or so if you want a piece of paper and a pencil. And in taking those questions at home, they also give me the opportunity to come up with questions or answers or do some research to help pigeon people. But what I found interesting was somehow the word is spreading that if you have a question about poultry, you're more than welcome to call me on that too. This week alone, I had a gentleman call me about his quail, and I'm pretty sure I was able to help all of these folks one way or another, because I do have a whole library of books, including poultry books. And people call me about chickens. People called me this week about guinea hens, and one lady called about pheasants. Interesting also, my next door neighbor also has chickens, and she came over I think it was last week, beginning of this week. The bird had what we call bumblefoot. Bumblefoot meaning if you pick it up and look at the bottom of the foot, it's swollen or she's limping or it looks like a blister. Well, that's the second time with the same bird. So the bird itself is chronic. It probably will have trouble with bumblefoot the rest of its life. But what I found interesting is when I turned the bird upside down and looked at the bumblefoot, the growth, there was a little small area, round area that was completely black. So just out of curiosity, sounds gross, but I put my fingernail under the edge of that black spot, and it was about smaller than a penny, smaller than a dime, real small. And then it started to come up, and I popped it right off. I flipped the bird's foot. I looked to the other side of the foot, the same foot, and the same black hole, a black mark was there. I popped that one off, and it was amazing. They were connected together. When I popped them off from both sides, there was actually a hole all the way through the foot. No blood at all. It was the bumblefoot itself. We bandaged it up with the self-sicking bandages, wrapped it all up, and I checked on the bird the other day. It was back to normal, not limping at all. So I was surprised that worked because I had never done that before. But anyways, I do a lot of work with chickens. Local people do come to see me also. They bring their birds and we'll discuss it. My home phone number, if you need it, or would like to have it, keep it on hand. I tell you now, I remind you, I don't answer the phone before 5 o'clock. I'm sorry, I don't answer the phone before 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't answer the phone after 5 o'clock, unless for some reason I talk to you and say, well, why don't you call me back later? But if you call me between 5 and 9, and the phone will ring, and then you'll hear something about an access code or something, pay no attention to it. I've got your phone number with caller ID. I don't like to, well, I guess I don't like to have people discuss their whole issue on a machine which tells me all of their problems. Number one, I just plain don't understand what they're saying because they're talking too fast. I might be on the other line helping someone else. And if you leave all of these symptoms, as you've heard us say before, one question leads to another question. So I'd much rather talk to you and ask you specific questions. So no need to leave a message. If you call and it rings a few times and I don't answer, if you want to hang up, I will call you back. Sometimes I get as many as 30 calls a day. But being retired from voice, I enjoy it. Especially enjoy learning. It's not unusual to get a question that I can't answer off the top of my head. I might have an idea, but then I go into my books. And I got stacks of pigeon health books, it's amazing. What's not in one book is it many times is in another book. I'm not sure. Like, for instance, I was trying to look up a problem with the bird's foot. Wasn't the bumblefoot, and in the indexes, I look under feet, I look under foot, nothing in about 4 or 5 of the books. Finally, I did find one, and there my answer was there. My sister is probably watching. Her name's Charlene. She lives up in Maine, and she was commenting on my hats. And I got to thinking, I would imagine a lot of people wonder why I wear these hats. It's just something I do, or we'll try to wear a different hat every week. But I think some people are starting to believe I'm bald, and I'm too embarrassed to take my hat off. So my hat's off to you. I'm not bald. I just like crazy hats. Send me a crazy hat, and I'll wear it on the show. One of the things we talk about on occasion is what should you have around you in case you have a problem. 3-in-1 is not a bad one to have around. Amoxicillin is a broad spectrum antibiotic. So it's a good idea to have that rather than calling and waiting for it because it treats so many different things. Another one is Nutri drops, N-U-T-R-I drops, go into drinking water. They can be mixed with any antibiotic, and it actually makes an antibiotic work better. So if you've got something like amoxicillin or any antibiotic in stock, you want to make it work even better. And it appears as though the combination of the antibiotic and Nutri drops have an effect on the viruses, either stopping them or making them more affected in reducing the time that a virus works, because sometimes viruses will last a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, don't know. But if it's a 4-week vaccine, a 4-week and treatment of antibiotics by using NutriDrops, you'll find that the disease will go away much quicker. Gina will be joining me later, but I got to thinking before the show, one thing we don't talk about much is the value of adding greens to your pigeon's diet, especially if they don't forage on the ground. You don't let them go to the ground and pick at the greens. You'll see they'll eat grass. So if you are somebody who buys vegetables on a regular basis or not, you can also buy them just for your pigeons. I'm talking about lettuce, broccoli, celery stalks. Celery leaves, not the stalks, but the part that in most cases you don't eat. Kale, spinach, collard greens, anything like that that's green. You chop them up and add it to your feed, and you'll see that the pigeons will eat it, and it's giving them some needed vitamins, such as all greens have vitamins in it. One of the other things I've talked about before, and I found that it's very, very important that the birds get as much sunlight as you can give them. So it's always a good idea to have an aviary so that the birds can go outside. I was going to talk about this today. I got 2 separate emails. One was dated June 30th, and one was dated July 25th. One of them just says, would you have any idea why my flock of pigeons might stop laying? I've got 3 different breeds and they've all stopped laying. And that was from a gentleman named David. And here's one from a gentleman named Jim. And he says, good morning. I sent the beginning of this mail. Well, you don't have to hear that. He sent it by mistake, the beginning. I have stashers, and I think they have a nutritional deficiency. You may want, and I wrote back, I asked them some questions, and here's what I told them. To increase the possibility that the birds land, they need sunlight. Very, very important. Without sunlight, they will stop breeding. And then every Monday and Wednesday, you want to put in something called Fertical, which contains calcium and other vitamins. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, you want to add something called multi-breed. Given some time, that will get those birds laying again. If you don't have peas in your diet, pigeon diet, you should add peas. If you buy peas in a 50-pound bag, then you want just 10%, which would be 5 pounds of a 50-pound bag. But if you want, just feed your birds the regular feed with no peas, and just add a handful of peas to their diet. Now, you'll find at different times of the year, they won't eat those peas, or they don't want to eat them for whatever reason. So what I do is, if I go back, and you've heard me talk about this before, if I go back and look at my feeder and they're all done eating, and yet there are still peas in there, I'll take it out next morning. I put the feeder in there with peas only. They'll be hungry and they'll eat those peas, because that, when you add peas, you certainly want them to eat. Am I wrong, or is our star late? She's late. She's probably talking to some guy out there, if I had to guess. But anyways, let's take care of that. And while I got a couple of minutes, I wanted to thank some of you folks who watch us. I've got 2 or 3 checks from the people who watch this show for the Legacy Fund Trust. The Legacy Fund Trust is a trust that was legally created to help people who have pigeons. Pigeons, people who have a need, not necessarily pigeon need, but I'll give you an idea. We got an email from a gentleman who his son wants to get into pigeons. He's only 10 years old and wanted to know whether the Legacy Fund Trust could help him. Then I got a second one in regards to that, and it was a gentleman out west, and it's a small Christian camp that he runs. I think there were 4 or 5 people. I think I spoke with this one before. And he did fill out a form also and send in a request to help these children stay out of trouble by developing an interest in pigeons. We sent that man, personally, the company Voice sent each of them a small booklet on pigeons. And I told him, why don't you send in a request, the National Pigeon Association Legacy Fund Trust, and you need to have a specific form. You can call the NPA, or you can go to the National Pigeon Association's website and click on to the Legacy Fund Trust. And when you click on to the Legacy Fund Trust, it'll say request forms. You click on that and you can print it. You can't send in a letter. You have to have it on that form. And then the form is given to the board of directors of the National Pigeon Association, and in most cases, they'll discuss it, approve it or not approve it, send it on to the Legacy Fund Trust. I'm the chairman, and they send it to me. You can send it to Foy's, and then we trustees get together and discuss it, and if it's approved, in most cases it will be, then if you haven't asked for a specific amount, then we'll write a check for the amount that we can afford or we think would help. It doesn't mean we're going to fund a whole project, but we'll do our best to help a pigeon person in need. Excuse me. Gina! I'm calling my daughter. she's supposed to be here, and she's almost 10 minutes late, so I don't know where she is. She's in the building. Running out of stuff to talk about. Oh, there she is. My goodness, Gina, where have you been?
I was helping with the customer.
Oh, that's a good reason. I thought maybe Mark was out there. I wasn't sure. Was he?
No.
No, okay. I just Mark's one of her acquaintances.
Tom will be back in a moment.
You'll be back?
No, she knows. Tom will be back in a moment.
Huh?
Tell him we'll be back in a moment.
Gina will be back in a moment. Oh, we'll be back in a moment. Don't mind me. You can see how professional I am. We're going to take a short break. Is that correct? We'll take a short break, and Gina will be joining me momentarily.
Did you mute it? Okay.
I was running out of things to talk about.
I was watching you, and it was behind on here. I forgot. It was behind. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Foy's on Facebook. For those of you that don't know, my name is Gina, and this is my dad, Jerry. We do the Foy's on Facebook. Have been doing them for a couple of years now.
More like 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I let you go 2 sentences without
interrupting. I knew it wouldn't be long. He throws me off in the beginning every time. But thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, please post them in the comment section. And we will get to your questions and your comments as we go on through the show. So today's topics we're gonna talk about yeast, fungus, and coccidiosis. So as we're talking about that, if you have other questions, please feel free to ask us, and we pretty much get to all the questions, and we'll answer them all as much as we can.
I'm trying to be quiet.
Where'd your hat
Well, I
go?
see two questions on the screen, both basically, so I'm going to where the answer is.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I see them. Just give me a minute. But thank you. So right now I'm going to announce the winners for the auction. If you don't know, we do an auction every 2 weeks, same time as the Facebook Live show, but the auction ends at 2 o'clock. So the winner for both sets of racing homers is Doug. And then the winner for the Hannah powders is Paul Morency. So that was all posted on Facebook. If you could call me, even if you call now, leave a message. I'll call you back after the show. I know somebody already called, but for the other person who didn't call, you can call, talk to Sherry or somebody else, and I'll call you back after the show. If you don't know, the money that's raised for the auction goes to the MPA Legacy Fund Trust. And you can donate birds to that. We'll auction the birds off. The money will go to the fund, or you can always donate money if you'd like. And if you have any questions, you can always give Jerry a call. And his home number, I'm going to give it to you, 724-359-5355. Or you can call the store, 724-843-6889. Okay, so first we're good. Oh, let me ask a question. Hi, Mitchell. Mitchell said, can you talk about race preparation on basketing day or the day before?
Why don't you read the next one that they're related, please? William.
Hi, William. William asked, what's the best thing to put in the water for ship day?
Okay. For those of fancy pigeon, did you want to say something?
No. Go ahead.
Those people who may not be racing pigeon people may not understand what the question is. So for racing pigeons, they are looking for something to add to the feed or to the water either the day before, either 2 days before they race or the day before they race. They have to take their birds to the club. They're asking what should they put either in their drinking water or on their feed. And one's Mitchell, one's William. I caution you to think that you can do something a day before a race. Usually it takes a build-up to that point. There are products that you can use the day before, but my firm opinion is that what you need to do is build up to it. So if you've got something to write, both of you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you have a 8-week program. If you contact Foy's and ask for Gina at some point, we'll send you a copy of the program. It's an 8-week program. Most of it is repetitive. So on some people, depending on the length of the race, of course, if it's a 500-mile race, you might bring your birds a different day than if it's a 100-mile race. But on Sunday, you start with Fertical and feather immune oil. Fertical is a product we talk about a lot, and what those are to build up good feathers. On Tuesday, what you want to do is something called triodine, which has iron in it. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, you're going back to the Fertical. Wednesday, you're going to multi-breed and avio entramune. I'm stumbling on this, but I'm not a good reader, but Gina will give it to you. So on Thursday, it's avio gel and entramune. On Friday, it's Fertical and feather and immune oil. And then on Saturday, that's usually the day before the race, avio gel and entramune. Avio gel is something that you add a little bit of water to the powder and stir it up. And then you add that to your feed and sprinkle the Intramune over. But if you want more information or you want specifics, you go to our website or our catalog and do a little bit of research. There are products that will tell you exactly what you might want to try the day before shipping. But if you have a problem finding it, call me at home or send a question into Foy's via Facebook or via email. That's the way to do it. And I will answer you. Okay, I'm done.
Also on that, we sell a health and performance package from Pigeon Vitality.
Oh.
I just had a customer that come in today, him and his son, and he said they use that and they've done really well in the race. So it is out of stock right now. It's on its way to us. Hopefully we'll have it next week.
It's 5 different products, is that correct?
4 different products.
Okay.
So it's in our catalog on page 88. It talks about it, or you can go on the Pigeon Vitality website and look it up. They have a lot of statistics about their products. So that's another option. But the what Jerry was talking about, that I could send that to you on email if you want, or mail it to you, either way if you're interested in that. Okay. Yan asked, now, is wheat good for pigeons? Another name is wheat berries.
I'm not sure if I understand that. Is she talking about wheat berries or are you talking about just wheat? But I can't imagine wheat berries being bad for pigeons. I see absolutely no reason why it can't be. If you can eat them, they can eat them. Okay. I know pigeons by nature don't like wheat.
Right.
And if you feed wheat in your feed, one of the last things they always eat is wheat. So if it's wheat berries, it might make them eat it more regularly. But if they don't eat the wheat berries, do what I said earlier in the show. If you go back and if the wheat berries are in the feeder, they won't touch them. Take it away, give it to them tomorrow with nothing else except the wheat berries, and you find that they will eat them. They develop, it's amazing. You could put something in the feed. One of them, think about is peanuts. You can put peanuts in the feed, and the first day or two, when they don't want to eat them, I force them to eat them. But within a week or so, first thing they eat is peanuts, because they've got to get used to the idea and seeing them, and then they'll find out that they like them. Peanuts are usually given to a bird to put weight on them.
Stacy asked, does head and neck molt affect training, in your opinion?
What's your opinion?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. See, at least we don't make something up. If we don't know,
Right.
we tell you we don't know. The answer is yes. Head and neck, they're going through the molt. And anybody that races or flies pigeons laments the fact that there's a special race they want to get into, and yet the birds in a bad molt. If the birds are in a really bad molt, neck, head, it's best to keep them home if you possibly can. The molt takes strength away from the bird because their body is developing brand new feathers. So if you have a choice, Stacy, and it's a bad molt or going through a heavy molt, don't fly. That's my opinion.
That's what I was gonna say.
And I'm sticking to it. Is that exactly what
Exactly.
Damn, you are learning so
Word
much.
for word.
Word for word. Go ahead, repeat it. Oh, you're too busy.
Yeah, we got too much to talk about. So I think we'll talk about coccidiosis first.
Okay. Coccidiosis is, for people call it a disease. Coccidiosis, canker, and worms are not diseases. I point that out because they don't. There's no benefit in giving pigeons antibiotics, medicines when they have canker or coccidiosis or worms. They're actually what's called a protozoa, a bug. So you've got to use products that are specific for one of those three or all three, and they're not medicines. And in some cases, you have to be aware, especially if if we're talking about coccidiosis. Being a protozoa doesn't respond, but even if you use the correct, and we're going to be talking about some coccidiosis medicines, one of the things you have to do is when you treat for coccidiosis, it's always a good idea, number one, to treat once, and then maybe 14 days later, 10 to 14 days later, do it again. Because the first time you treat for cocci, it kills the adults. But it doesn't kill the larvae, the eggs. The adult may have laid eggs, and the first treatment will kill the adults, but the eggs may have already been pooped out. Good word, huh? Pooped out? I'm trying to think of a better word. Pooped out onto the ground, onto the floor, I should say. And the pigeons can pick them right back up. They pick the eggs up, swallow them, they hatch, got cocci again. That's why it's so important, number one, to do it twice. Number two, clean the floor of the loft every day after you treat for coccidiosis and worms too. Bill Fitzgerald
We're not done with
is answering a lot
coccidiosis.
of questions, asking a lot of questions. I didn't say it. See how
Oh,
she does
okay.
that? She hollers at me, gives me hell for something I didn't even do.
I didn't holler. I was just making a statement. So for coccidiosis, it's also a good idea to alternate medicines, correct?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Because the pigeons develop a resistance to drugs, especially for coccidiosis, if you use them every time you think you're doing good. But after a couple of treatments, we'll say we're going to be talking about chlorid, you want to switch to something else. You've got, or else they'll develop a resistance, and you're wasting your money because the drug won't be doing the job you think it will.
Right. And coccidiosis is one of the things that Dr. Miller can find on pigeon droppings if you were to send your
Why don't
droppings
you
in
explain
for a
that,
test.
because we maybe don't mention it very
Okay.
often.
So you can send your pigeon droppings in to be analyzed, and we have a vet that will analyze them. He'll find worms, coccidiosis,
Canker in some cases.
canker in some
And
cases.
he will find things that might lead him to believe you have other problems, but well, I found a lot of times he'll even call the customer
Most
and
times
ask
he
and
does.
want more information.
He can also find yeast, fungus,
Yeast and
and
fungus
fungus.
infections, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, if you're having a problem and you can't seem to get to the bottom of it, it might be a good idea to send your droppings in to us. And if you have any questions on droppings to be analyzed, call Sherry at Voice. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just waiting for you. I don't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I had a conversation with a gentleman this morning, and I share this with you. Every state in the Union, every state in the United States has an agricultural college, or if it isn't a freestanding college, it's part of another college. And if you really have problems and you just can't see them improving, or it's chronic and that it's gone and then it comes back and then gone and come back, that's chronic. Just call any college in your state or university and ask them who the agricultural college is. Where are they? And if you call them, every state has to have one. You can, in most cases, I can't speak for every one of them, but I can't imagine them saying no. You can actually send a bird to them, and they'll do a complete necropsy, another word for autopsy, on them, and it'll be much better than just a droppings analysis. In Pennsylvania, we use Penn State. So the reason I tell you it's better not to send them out of state. If you're an out of state resident, the cost might triple or quadruple because you're from a different state than Penn State. But if you are local, in Michigan they have one, I know. Minnesota has one, I know. It's much less expensive, and in some cases you can drive the bird right over. But I caution you, if you have a bird and you want to take it to a college, if they don't tell you, I'm telling you, don't freeze the bird. You can put it overnight in a refrigerator or a plastic sealed bag to keep it cold, but don't freeze it. It destroys a lot of the tissue that they need to look at to see if there's something wrong. I apologize.
It's okay.
I really am not sorry.
I know you're not.
Did we say hi to my sister Charlene?
Hi, Auntie Charlene.
Go ahead.
So as I was saying, which I forget.
Before you were so rudely interrupted, we were talking about coccidiosis.
Oh, droppings.
Yeah.
So if you keep treating with different products and you can't get to the root of it, can't figure out what's wrong, you can always send your droppings in. And as I said, call Foy's, ask for Sherry. Sherry is in charge of the droppings, and she will answer any questions you have. And then once the doctor looks at the droppings, he always calls the customer. He'll call and talk to Sherry, and then he'll call the customer himself and explain what he found and what steps you can take to fix that problem. And then if your bird dies, as Jerry said, you can get a necropsy on them, and then you'll figure out what might be going on. Okay, so some of the products, I can't see if, let me just get my phone back up. Okay, so some of the products are, as Jerry said, Corid, which comes in a liquid and a powder.
For the drinking water.
For the drinking water. Coccivet is a Vetifarm product. Can you see this, Veronica? Mm-hmm. Coccivet, this comes in the 50 milliliter and 250 milliliter. So it comes in a bigger bottle. If you have more pigeons, this goes in the drinking water as well. Coccicide, which is a Dr. Pigeon product. Which
Not
is,
mine, because I think I mentioned to you, people are starting to,
yes.
Some people call me Dr. Pigeon.
And this is the real Dr. Pigeon.
A genius, just a genius.
Great man who is no longer with us. But yes, so this is his product that goes into drinking water. And then Aviocox, which is trimethoprim sulfa, this also goes into drinking water. So if you've treated with any of these and you keep having the same problem, you may want to try another Coccidia product. Anything else to add?
Great job.
Thank you.
You know me, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying not to interrupt you. But I find out that if I don't interrupt you, did I just interrupt you?
You forget.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
It makes for a better show because we have fun. A lot of people mention that we have fun doing this show, and
We do.
I pick on Gina a lot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to read another question or comment from William. I have a pretty decent race regiment, but I just want to know what is the best thing to put in the water before ship day to keep them hydrated and not to dehydrate them or affect them in any way at all. If it's just plain water is best, or anything that's really good to use before ship day.
Why are you looking at me?
So you can answer the question.
Oh, is it okay? I'm not interrupting you then?
I read and you answer.
Oh,
right?
There might be other answers, and if you want to call me, I can do some research. But it's in our catalog. The one that comes to mind is certainly electrolytes. When your birds become dehydrated, the first thing you would add to the water is electrolytes. So I think if you tried adding electrolytes, they would have less of a tendency to become dehydrated. The bad thing is what you don't control, of course, is once the birds are in the shipping truck and on their way, there is water in front of them, regular, clear, hopefully good, clean, fresh water. But I think if you add the electrolyte, it would hold over some to prevent the dehydration.
Good answer. Good job. Is there any more questions, Veronica? Can't see. Okay. Stacy asks, how often should we use our Dr. Pigeon elixir on our young birds? Would red cell on the feed and elixir in the water be too rich of a diet?
No,
No?
would not be too rich. Simple answer. There are some questions that answer yes or no, and that one is no.
So you can do both.
Didn't we have some questions we were going to use while we're waiting?
We did, but
Okay.
got a whole
But I'm
show
not
to
trying to
do.
run the show. Although I will tell you, it's very rare that I'm late. But if you don't know, she was like almost 10 minutes late joining us today.
10?
But yes, it was.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Well, you started late to begin with. So, next, go ahead.
What were we talking about?
I was late.
Yeah, she had the best reason in the world. She didn't want to leave a customer. Customer was in the store asking questions, needed a professional person to wait on them, so she stayed out to help a customer. Right?
Okay.
And I also, that reminds me, we're open 9 to 5. You're more than welcome to come and visit our store. Everything we've got is on display. Also, if you want to come on a Saturday, in some cases a Sunday, myself being retired, I don't work as hard, right?
I wouldn't say that.
Well, thank you. But if you want to come on a weekend, you call the store and they'll give you my home phone number. I'll give it to you right after I make the statement. I'll be more than happy to come on down to the store, open it up for you, and help you out in any way. So my home phone number is 724-359-5355.
And please only call him Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you. Hey, somebody called me at 10:30 at night.
Oh my
this week.
goodness. Crazy.
Well, people are passionate about their birds, and I'm not the easiest person to get a hold of, as you know.
I know.
I'm doing so many things. But if you call that number, which I just gave you, don't leave a message. It'll say something about, or whatever it'll say. But it just plugs in, and I get to get to see the number and the phone number, and I call you back when Now, I know I don't take calls from 9 to 5, but it doesn't mean I won't call you in the evening. If I have some free time and I've got a lot of questions, I need to catch up, a lot of times I will call you in the evening.
You don't take calls after 5.
That's right. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah. So if you call him and you don't have your,
can't do anything right.
if you don't have your number blocked, he'll see your number that you called. So don't call him like 10 times in a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one. I'll open up my phone and it'll say I've got 14 calls. Click, click, click. 8 of them are from the same person. If you call me now and then 2 minutes later or 4 minutes later, you haven't done anything, I will call you. I might be on the other line, and you don't even know that. Just call me once. I will call you back.
Because sometimes he'll be on the phone with the customer for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But he will call you back. He'll see your number and call you back. I know sometimes I get impatient, call him like 3 times, a couple hours later.
And then sometimes, in deference to the person who's calling, the person who called just before him, I shouldn't say him, them, because many times it's a lady. So I'm in the midst of researching. A guy asked me a question, I couldn't answer it. I'm doing some research, and I don't want to answer another phone and take another question until I get done with that research. Call that person back, and then I'll call you back.
Right.
Hope we haven't alienated anybody. I hope that makes sense to them.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be 70 in a few months and getting old.
I'm going to be 30.
30, huh?
Next month.
You don't look a day over 29.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we didn't answer that. So William asked, what's the best alternate medicine besides Corid for coccidiosis? So we mentioned some other ones. We mentioned the Coccicide, Coccivet, and Aviocox. Those are the different ones we have. Well, that's all we have, right?
And in answer to his question,
Any one of those.
right, there's no best.
Right.
They're all good. They all do the job. So if you rotating means you don't have to rotate two. You can rotate three if you want to invest in it. But there's no best. We just, if you don't want to start out with cord, start out with the aviocox or start out. So there's no best, William. They're just all good for you to rotate.
Yeah, a lot of people will call and say, I want your best product for this. We don't say what's best. It's a personal preference. Some might say cord's best, some might say aviocox is best. It just depends on a person. But we might say, well, this product is a very good seller, so if you want to try that, you can. But we don't ever say what's best.
And if you ask for the best, the implication is the other ones are inferior. Well, if there was a best, why would we sell other ones? Why not just sell the best? It's perfect, it's preference, just like
Right.
I'm drinking Coke and maybe somebody else wants
Pepsi.
You're a Pepsi person. Neither one of them are best. It's which one you like or which one you have
Prefer.
experience with.
Right. Yes. Thank you. You ready to talk about yeast and fungus?
Am I to read the question?
I didn't say we're on questions yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, fungus.
Yeast and fungus.
There's a fungus amongst us.
I said yeast and fungus.
Well, what's the difference between yeast and fungus?
Okay, so as I was researching for this, I get confused sometimes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't even gonna go there. So, yeast is a microscopic fungus.
Means you almost have to look at a microscope. It's so darn small.
Microscopic. Imagine that. Who'd have thunk? So,
Embarrassed.
so yeast is a microscopic fungus. So I'll let you go on, carry on with that.
Well, I'm just not used to being told that I'm stupid.
I never said that.
I'm getting over it. I'm all right.
Thank you. I knew you'd snap out of it that quick.
I am so full of baloney. Yes, I am.
Anybody that knows you knows that.
Guy, I think I already mentioned that. My barber told me I was the guy that told his customer I'm the guy that needs all the attention, sort of a braggart. Go ahead.
Your other daughter's watching, Kim.
Okay. Hi,
You
Kim.
should be asleep. Just saying.
Well, just
Don't.
mention.
Don't.
No, well, she
No.
didn't work today.
Right. She's off today. She's taking a couple days off. She needs vacation from him. Oh, you weren't supposed to be looking at me. So anyways, back to yeast and fungus. So yeast is a...
You didn't even start.
I started,
Okay.
but we didn't continue. Yeast is a microscopic fungus. Go ahead. And
Well, yeast, what is a fungus?
a bigger yeast.
I'm sorry. Microscopic. That's a good answer, I must say. Talking about yeast, I know I've mentioned this happened years ago. I had a problem, a guy had a problem, and we sent some stool samples to Penn State. Penn State said he has fungus, and had no idea. So I called him. I said, "You've got something going on in your loft. I don't know what it is. Does your loft get wet, or moldy, or damp, or is it never in the sun?" The answer to those was no. It's in the sun. I look at my loft. I scrape the floor. Everything is bone dry. How the heck do I get a fungus? And I can't even remember why I answered the question. I must have answered it sometime in the back many years ago. I said to him, well, let me ask you this. What do you have on your ceiling? Now, what would that tell you? That question would, I'm asking because,
it could possibly affect the birds.
yes, if he had a drywall ceiling and it looked fine, but there was very, very poor ventilation. And I said to him, why don't you do this? Go in one of the corners of your loft and cut a hole in the ceiling in a corner and tell me what you find. He did it and called me back, and the ceiling itself above the drywall was damp and moldy. So even though inside of the loft was dry as a bone, above a solid ceiling, that's why I tell people you're always best to drop the ceiling down to about 7 feet and have a wire ceiling, and you're looking up to the underneath the roof, and that's where you're going to have ventilators. If you have a solid ceiling above you, and then there's an area from the ceiling to the roof, and there's no ventilation, how do you move air? It just, you need a screened or wired ceiling and vents of some sort to pull the air out. I went off on a tangent, didn't I? But
Yeah.
it's relevant.
No, yeah, it's
Thank you.
relevant. What else could cause mold in your loft?
A lot of people don't realize feed can do it, or even grit. If your feed is old, or it was kept in poor conditions at the warehouse, then the feed could be moldy. If you are concerned about that, if it isn't a top quality feed, or if it's a top quality feed but it's been around for a long time or been exposed to dampness, it could be in the feed or it could be in the grit.
Right.
Also,
What you have on your floor? Is that what you was gonna say?
well, I was hoping you could say it.
So hay.
Nope.
Straw.
Straw.
I get them two mixed up.
Never hay, straw on the floor.
Straw. Don't use straw.
No, don't use hay.
Don't use hay. See, you missed.
Straw.
Don't use hay. What else on the floor?
Sand is the best of the products available that are not made specifically for pigeons. Sand is great. You can put nothing down as long as you have a dry loft and you scrape it, or you can put nothing down, and if you have a dry loft, you can actually build it up 2, 3, 4 inches of dried droppings. That's called deep litter, and it's perfectly fine. And of course, the fourth one is that I would talk about would be floor covering. All of my lofts have floor covering, and it's about that deep. We sell it. It's expensive to ship, but it's got an, that's one of the things we never talk about, is floor covering, it actually has an anti-coccidiosis in
Yes,
it.
it does.
And what I do is I put 2 or 3 inches of floor covering down on my loft, and I put all my perches on one side when possible, or sometimes 2 sides. All the droppings go to the same area. We sell a pitchfork, but you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's. I wonder if they'll pay me for mentioning them. Probably not, huh? Oh, but get a pitchfork and pick up the droppings that gather underneath the perches, get rid of the droppings, and then I just rake the floor. And I don't have to clean my floor for 6 months, or more, or a little less, depending on the number of birds.
Right. So fungus can cause something called Aspergillosis. Right?
I agree.
And that's
Inside joke.
that's one of the topics that Vicki asked us to talk about on the show. So that is a respiratory disease, and a lot of times you can get it because you have underlying problems, other underlying problems that you may not know about.
Which we just talked about, the bad feed.
Right.
Ventilation, just so important.
Yes. Go ahead, because I lost my train of thought.
You lost your train. Woo-hoo. The train of thought. That's what we'll talk. I really think we covered it. But if you're not sure, Vicki, or anyone else listening, get the droppings analyzed or take them to Ag Lab. Penn State does it. We can do it. You can find the mold in the feces under a microscope. So the thing of it is, if you don't do that, but you suspect you have a fungus or mold problem, then we do have products that are made to take care of that. Not antibiotics, they don't work on those. These are products that are antifungal.
Right. And a lot of times people may think it's just a respiratory problem. They get respiratory medicine, they treat them for respiratory, not knowing that it's actually a fungus and you need different product for that.
I actually get into not heated discussions, but people will call me and I'll give them my best guess. And they want to disagree with me. And then I say to them, well, I'm telling you what I think the problem is.
Right.
But they want to argue and say, no, that's not the problem. Well, then you must know what the problem is. I'm thinking to myself, well, why did you call me if you don't want to listen to me or offer, take my offered suggestions?
We have a new young man working here with us, and I was explaining to him today that sometimes we get phone calls and people give us the symptoms and we tell them what we think it might be, because we're not doctors, we're not sure, we don't see the bird, we only know what you tell us. So I told him, I said, some people already have in their head what's wrong. They just want to know what we tell them, but they're still going to go with what's in their head. So as you always say, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Yes, my daughter
It
finally
took
got
years
it
to
after
learn
years.
that.
It is so true. There's some people who have already made up their mind.
Right.
They're asking you, but they already know the answer.
Right. So if you already know, then why ask? Just call and order what you want to order, right? So what I did want to go over is a couple natural products that help.
Yeah, only because you know me. If I don't,
Go
I
ahead.
forget. What we talked a little bit about what not to put on the floor. Hay, right? A lot of people use hay as a nesting material. Don't do it. You're just asking for trouble because your babies are pooping and urinating in the nest bowl. And if you leave that hay there for a week or two while they're growing, you're just asking for trouble. Don't use hay at all in your lawn. I'm perfectly happy with straw or the tobacco stems. But be cautious. Don't take straw or the tobacco stems can't develop mold. They can, but they're much more resistant to it. But you've got to, don't be afraid to change the nesting material in the nest box every week or 10 days. Don't leave it because you're going to leave it there for 3 weeks. And if it's wet, it has a tendency to mold. So change your nesting material fairly frequently. And if you're using straw, it's cheap. Go buy a bale. It'll probably last you a couple of years. Nope, it won't do that unless you keep it very dry.
Right. So as I was saying, some natural.
Before you were so rudely interrupted.
I wasn't going to say that.
Okay.
Some natural antifungal products. One would be oregano oil. That's a great antifungal product. Another one is garlic, which garlic is good for a lot of things.
Well, crushed garlic. Garlic oil or
crushed garlic.
Did I say garlic?
You did.
Did I?
That's that Maine accent coming out.
I've been here nigh on 50 years, and you can, when I say idea or pizza or car or horse, it slips out, especially if I'm a little bit tired. And the reason I'm a little bit tired is my wife set the alarm for 4 o'clock this morning. And when she got up, she shut the alarm off. But it's got that feature that it rings and rings and rings and rings. So I finally had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go shut the damn thing off so I'd go back to sleep. That's why I'm tired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You want to do the rest of the show by yourself?
No.
No.
We're almost done. So as I was saying, oregano oil and garlic. And we do sell oregano oil, we sell garlic oil, we sell garlic juice, we sell garlic powder.
But you can make your own garlic.
You can make your own.
Crush it and it'll be moist. The moisture will come out of it.
Yep.
You can put that in the water. Or you can put chopped up garlic in the water. Garlic.
So that's a couple natural products for that.
Do we have anything else?
Some questions.
Oh, we have questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want a question?
Well, I just thought we had other products for that.
Oh yes. I'm sorry. I was thinking we already went over them. I'm sorry, my fault. I was gonna say my bad. So one of them is an AVO product. It's candy statin, which statins are good. Statins are good. We also have metastatin, but it's out of stock right now. So this is the only statin in stock right now. And then
it goes on the feed, right? But I just want to mention,
which a lot of people don't like.
These are some of the ingredients. Let's see, it has right there, caprylic acid, apple cider vinegar, grapefruit seed extract, and vitamin A and a couple of other things. So we've talked about apple cider vinegars for years because vinegar is a vinegar. For years as a great thing to add to the water on a fairly regular basis.
Yes. I was supposed to make you tea and I forgot. He was losing his voice and I was going to go make him one of my special teas.
I forgot.
And I had a customer. So anyways, another for fungus it's called Antifungal, which is from Pigeon Vitality, and it's in the package that I mentioned earlier.
That's from Norway.
Yes. And you should use it with the improver. So Antifungal and improver. And those are great products as well.
Going to drinking water. Yep.
Yes, thank you. And that's all right. I didn't forget any. Okay. We have a question on the board. Hi, James. He says, to your knowledge, has the concentration of NutriDrops changed? I got a bottle of it 2 years ago and just got another one, and the recent one is watered down in comparison to the original bottle. Thanks.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you contact Gina? It can be today or next week.
Jim.
And we will contact the manufacturers. The only thing I can think of, if you have NutriDrops and they sit in a bottle for a year or so, maybe it's, I don't know, then they're going to change colors on you. But let's call the manufacturer and we'll get an answer for you. And we'll also mention it on our next show. Okay? So one of you.
Okay, yeah, I'm writing it down.
So Jim, probably better to wait until Monday to call you.
Yes.
Call 724-843-6889. But Jim, you probably already know that. But I do thank you. A lot of people who use a product and think there's been a change might stop using it. You were kind enough to send it in to us, and if somebody asks us in the future, we'll know. So we'll get an answer for you. In fact, we might have one of the people who manufacture it, even from, they might be able to call them.
Right.
We'll try.
Yeah, we'll see. And we don't know, like you said, unless you guys tell us, because Jerry doesn't use all of the products. So if you guys don't tell us, then we don't know.
And I don't get a lot of sick birds because I try to use preventative medicine, not medicine, preventative versus something that I wait until the birds are sick and then treat them. So my birds stay pretty healthy.
On that note, we have a basket. It's called a lifetime basket, and we've had it since I've been here. And there has always been a material on the bottom of the basket that prevents the droppings from falling through the holes. So a guy ordered 2 of them, and he got them, and there was nothing in the bottom. Well, when we received them, I didn't notice that there was nothing in the bottom, so we sent them to him, and he wasn't happy. And so I called the manufacturer, and they're like, "Oh, we stopped making that years ago." I said, "Well, it couldn't have been years ago because my last order had them in." So they stopped making the material that goes in the bottom, but they didn't tell me. I didn't realize it, so I didn't know until the customer called. So now we have to figure out something to put in the bottom for the customers.
And we did.
So we
Since
did.
I haven't done it yet. But it's such a, as you said,
Right.
we appreciate it. We're certainly not perfect, and companies will make changes. You don't even know they made the change, and they don't tell you. So unless you folks will give us that information, then we won't know.
Right. Yeah, so we do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, what else?
Well, we're going to talk about this one. I'm on. Oh, that one I was going to talk on my show, and I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay. So these are email questions from customers that Jerry gets. So I'm gonna read it to you. A lot of times, when Jerry gets email questions or phone calls, if he can't find the answer, then he emails one of his doctor friends.
I'm very close friends with really a world-renowned veterinarian, Dr. Botha from South Africa, who is the equivalent to, well, he's the veterinarian for the whole United States, I mean, for the whole country of South Africa, just like we have a head vet for the United States. Knows his stuff, and he's a pigeon man, and I interrupted you again.
That's okay, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
That one's
Did
confusing.
we say hi to Charlene?
We did. I did.
Well, hi, Charlene.
How do you
My
know
sister.
she's watching? Oh, she'll watch later though. She'll be happy. So okay, one of my pigeons' wings stopped moving and seems in pain. What can I use to heal that?
In almost all cases, when you have a bird that's limping and acts like it has a sore leg, it's paratyphoid. Some people call it salmonella. And it's affecting the joint of a leg, and that's why they are in pain. It hurts to walk. So it could be certainly an accident. Could have, if they fly outside, could have hit a wire, or even inside, could have been flying and hit their leg against a perch. So I would venture to say if that doesn't improve in a fairly short period of time, because pigeons have such a fast recovery, then you have salmonella. I would ask certainly if this person vaccinates, because vaccinating prevents salmonella, but a lot of people think it's a treatment. It's not. In fact, the manufacturers of the product themselves tell you do not vaccinate sick pigeons. It's not a treatment. It's a preventative. And how can you prevent something you already have? So the most important thing would be to treat the salmonella. And then about 14 days later, after the treatment, then you vaccinate. That's my answer.
Okay. He got another question. Customer has canaries, and he said they're coughing, sneezing, black keel, and they quickly die. Number 3.
Number 3, I wrote it, there it is, and I remember this one. This one goes back, believe it or not. I was going through some information, getting ready for the book. This question was asked in 2017. He had canaries coughing, sneezing, and you turn the bird upside down and smooth its feathers out so you could look at the skin, and it had a black tint to it, and then it died very, very quickly. And I didn't have an answer. I contacted Dr. Botha, and Dr. Botha said that it's most likely a disease called mycoplasmosis. He suggested Spiridox in the drinking water for 10 days, follow it with an antibiotic.
And if you don't know, mycoplasmosis is a respiratory problem, right?
See, girls, the see guys, when you call the girls, you know, don't ask for Veronica. She knows diddly squat about pigeons. But if you ask Shelley or Sherry or Gina or Sherry and the boys,
Kim,
one
or Kim.
One of the boys been with us over a year now, so he's starting to learn. But they don't answer questions until they've been with us for 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
Is that it?
Yep.
Is it 4 o'clock?
It's 4 o'clock. And it's Friday.
We don't. Is there anything we have to talk
It's
about?
the weekend.
If you
No.
really enjoy our show, and so many of you tell us you do, why don't you send in a small donation to help the future of the hobby? The Legacy Fund Trust, part of the NPA. If it's $5 or $10, or if you want to send us a pair of birds, we'll auction them off. So any amount is greatly appreciated to help people in need who are pigeon people. And if you send in a pair of birds and they sell for $100 or more, and they always do, your name goes into the NPA quarterly twice a year, absolutely forever. So you're certainly recognized. So it's also cumulative. If you send us in $5 this month and $5 next month, once it reaches 100, your name goes in the magazine. It'll be there forever.
Okay. And if you have any questions about that, you can call Jerry or myself.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we done?
We are. So thank.
I got
Do you have
stuff to
anything
do.
else to say? Okay.
No, I've got. I mentioned rollers. One of my breeders sent me a bunch of rollers, and I have to go out and sort them out because those rollers are flying rollers, good flying rollers, will be going on our site for sale or possibly in our auctions in the future.
Okay. So
My hat's off to you for listening. See, I'm not bald.
thank you for watching
You weren't
us.
here when I mentioned that. A lot of people
No.
say the reason I wear a hat is I'm bald.
Oh, no, not at all. So if you have any questions between shows, and if you don't want to ask on a show, you can always call us or email us.
Or call me at home, right? Yeah.
Call us or email us, and we'll be more than happy to help. Next show is Friday, September 25th. If you would like us to do the show on a particular product or a disease or anything else.
Similar to what Vicki did for us, yeah, just to discuss it, and we did. And we
Right.
still tell you, Vicki, if we didn't answer it to your satisfaction, or if you still have questions, call Gino.
So if you have anything you want us to do the next show on, please contact myself or Jerry, and we'll be more than happy to do a show on that product or topic, whatever it is.
Something just came to me. We don't have a theme song.
So
Why don't I put a recorder in my pigeon coop, and we'll record all the birds cooing, right? And when it's just a minute or so before the show starts, you can hear the cooing and all of the things that are going on in the loft. And then when we, like right now, we're going off, the cooing will start again.
We'll do that.
Can we do it?
Hook it
Is
up.
that something can be done, Veronica?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do
Oh,
that.
I could just record it. We could turn it on a recording.
That'll be in the works with everything else.
Over the next 2 years or 3 years.
So, thank you guys. We truly appreciate you. Have a great weekend.